Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't. All right. We are Find My Past from home, and we're excited to be with you on Thursday, wherever you are in the world. Hello and welcome. It's great to see you again. It's been a few days or a couple weeks, I think, since I've done a Facebook Live, so it's good to be back. My name is Jen Baldwin. I am the Data Acquisition Manager in North America for Find My Past. And amongst many other things, I am an avid genealogist as well. And so I am particularly excited to do this session. So I'm hoping for some comments. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can see me. Hopefully everybody is with us today. So say hello. Let us know where you're watching from and what you are working on these days in terms of your family history. We'd love to hear from you. We also have Alex in the comments with us today. Unfortunately, Alex is a little under the weather, or he'd probably be live on the stream with us as well, but we're going to let him slide this time. We're going to let him work silently in the background. All right, let me just make sure that I'm all set up to see everything I need to see here. Now, you may realize that I am a little farther away from the camera than I normally am. How do I turn on comments on this thing? That is because today is actually really special. I am sitting here holding onto this giant box, which I just received yesterday from my aunt. This is going to be an interesting hour. Let me just double check my sound because my microphone's a little farther away, and I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to unbox family history. And we're literally going to do this together. So I have cut the tape, but I have not opened the box yet. So we're going to do this live. So I'm going to give you kind of a couple of warnings ahead of time. First, I know that there are at least postcards in this box, but I don't know what else is in here. She didn't tell me. I have a second great aunt who was a prolific letter writer and apparently also had a postcard collection, which I have never seen. So we are going to discover those postcards together, but everything else, I don't know what's in the box. The second thing I can probably promise you is that I'm going to get a little bit emotional during this process. So bear with me. I have my glass of water and I've got a Kleenex nearby. And so, but talk amongst yourselves during those moments. I'll do my best. But as we all know, right, family history is just at its core a very emotional pursuit, and I am a very emotional person, and so there are probably going to be moments that are going to hit me in this discovery process. But beyond what's in the box, I think today is really about preserving these types of items. How do we handle it when we get the box, right? What do we do? How do we keep this organized? How do we use these items to help trace our lineage and actually potentially break down brick walls or answer questions in our research? How do miscellaneous items sent from a random relative help us in our research journey? We're also going to talk a little bit about preservation today. So if anybody has experience with whatever's in the box, these types of items, please put it in the comments. If you have links or people that you know that write books or do this kind of work, share what you have. I'll admit that this type of thing is not my strength. I'm actually just getting to the point where I'm starting to really organize all my items and get them into archival materials and use the proper system. So I am in the midst of learning a lot. So if you have contributions to this conversation, by all means, share what you know. So are you ready? We're going to open the box. This is really exciting, I'll be honest. So it was sent from Washington State. I am in Colorado. So if you're unfamiliar with US geography, a couple thousand miles. I'll admit both my aunt and I were a little bit nervous about sending it via FedEx, right? Because the whole, like making sure it gets there safely and all that. But it's here, it's arrived, and I'm really excited to see what's in the box. And there's comments. Okay, I'm just starting to figure out how to use this new tablet. So my apologies. Hang on just a second. I'm still trying to get this right. But I want to make sure I'm seeing comments because I like interacting with you guys. as we go through these videos. I always really enjoy it. So I'm going to take just a second before I open the box. I'm going to make everybody wait. Where is the post? There we go. All right. So hopefully I can figure this out. Ah, there we go. Comments. Oh gosh, there's a lot of comments. And I'm not seeing any of them. So Alex is going to keep me posted. Hopefully he is responding to everybody if there's any questions or anything. I'm sorry, it's not working for me. I can't see. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this, right? Let's open the box. All right, here we go. It's a big box for reference. Oh, and it's quite heavy, actually. Heavier than I expected it to be when I got it. Oh, bubble wrap, very important. Okay, get that out of the way. More bubble wrap. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, I'm going to adjust a little bit. Whoop, there we go. So the box has some items folded over. There's more bubble wrap and packaging. I'm going to try and get that out of the way first. What we got going here? Filler material. Okay, all that's gone. So right away, these are large items, and there are binders. I love binders. That's great. Okay, let's start with the big stuff. So the first thing that we're going to pull out of the box is a quite long photograph, actually. It appears to be a military unit. I'm guessing it's training camp. It does have notes on the back. Yep, Company B, 15th Gun Battalion, Fort Bliss, Texas, 24th of February, 1945. So World War II period. That's pretty cool. So most of this, just from the names on the binders, let me back up a little bit, and the aunt that has all the postcards, I know is going to be from my second great aunt's family, the prolific letter writer. She would have had, their family collected a lot of material. I'm grateful to descend from a line of pack rats. And most of this is probably going to be from that line of family. So it's not my direct ancestors, not my direct lineage, but a line that actually has ended. The most recent generation didn't have any children. And so, so the material is staying with at least a branch of the family. So that's the first thing, is a World War I family photograph. Now, these types of items, always, I have a few of these now, so this is probably my third or fourth of this size. And the question is, for me at least, is always, how do you store this, right? Because I can't frame and hang them all on the wall. I know that there are oversized archival friendly boxes that you can put them in, but like right now it's wrapped in this plastic sheet, and I honestly, I don't think that's the best option. I think it needs to be removed from the plastic. But again, your comments are always going to be really helpful on this. So if you have suggestions, throw them out there, because I'm sure everybody would want to hear how to take care of these types of items. I'm still trying to get comments on this post. It's kind of driving me crazy, actually, that I can't see what you guys are talking about. So that's a really cool picture, Texas. All right. And it does have the name of my family member on the back. He's second row from the bottom, fourth from left. So let's see, second, 1, 2, 3. He's that guy right there. Like, you guys can see that. All right, so that's a good one. So we have a few other oversized materials in here. Let's pull all these out together. Oh, this one got a little bit. So most of them look like they're in plastic, but this one on top is not. This is certificate from, looks like a church, maybe even a church school. Junior department of the Congregational Sunday School. And it is for my second cousin, I think is what he is. So this is a nice document. It doesn't tell me anything new, but it does have his mother's name and signature on it. It's a little bit, the ink is a little bit faded and smudged, unfortunately, but it's a beautiful color certificate. So that's a fun one. No real new information. Okay, getting some comments from Alex. Thank you, Alex. Christine says she found a box under a bed a few days ago. Oh my gosh, confounded how to preserve blueprints and large docs. So yeah, so I actually, several years ago, I made an attempt to print out my entire tree, and it was for kind of a family reunion type event. And my dad and I ended up going to like a printing service, and we printed it out on the blueprint paper on those giant printers. And the font is really tiny and you can't see anything, but technically it's printed. And it filled an entire front yard. It was really massive. But we ended up just rolling it up and putting it in, like a mailing tube. I'm not sure if, I mean, that's obviously not an archival item, right? It's, but I would look at like specifically blueprint holders, or maybe map cabinets. Maybe that's a good option. The really big cabinets that have the really thin drawers that hold large documents. Maybe that would be something you could look at, Christine, although, I mean, that's quite an investment. Are there not acid-free envelopes you can put things into? I don't know if they would be in that size. Yeah, I think that's one of the suggestions from the comments. And I'm definitely going to have to look at acid-free oversize. I don't know what the options are for oversized acid-free envelopes. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm all ears, because I don't think I've purchased oversized before. I have standard size envelopes, but not big ones. So a couple more certificates here. We've got a high school diploma, and this one's kind of fun because this is from Buckley, Washington, if anybody's familiar with Washington State. And that is the town very near to where I grew up, just literally over the river from where I grew up. So that's kind of a cool one to have. I like that. And then the National Education Association, and this is a lifetime membership for the same person. So, and he was in fact a teacher. So that's kind of cool to have a piece of regional history in my hands. That's pretty neat. Again, in plastic, so we'll have to look at that. And then the last one is this cradle roll certificate. Oh, and this is actually quite good. So this is for the mom in the family. Her name was Ruth, and it has her actual date of birth. I said that backwards. And it has a location and a church. And I'm looking to see, it was not signed by a parent, but it is signed by the pastor of the church, and it's dated. But it says specifically she was born April 10th, 1920. I don't recall that I have her actual birth date yet. So that's a great one to have. I love that. And then there's a certificate for another Sunday school program. Oh, for her, for the mom instead of the sons. So that's cool. All right, so that goes back a little ways. That's dated 1926. Because that's the previous generation. All right, so that's good. That's a good start, right? We're all excited about this. Oh, and there's been a suggestion in the thread about a potential company to order from, My History Limited, which isn't based in the UK. I'm sure that there is a similar. I'm sure there's probably a few similar companies in the US. I just have to look them up. Oh, and Linda suggested S&N Genealogy in Wiltshire, different acid-free pocket storage. So that's perfect. Great. So if nothing else, I can get them from the UK. Maybe I can get Alex to buy them for me and then have him send them. See how I just put him like on the spot, and he's not here to defend himself. It's great. All right. Just kidding, Alex. All right. So there's a big pile of paperwork here wrapped in bags. This is very familiar, actually, and I'm sure it was wrapped in bags just to keep it all together. So let's see what we've got here. Yep, this is kind of what I thought. Oh, and actually, now that I think about it, my aunt and I did talk about this. So this is actually the pension file for my second great grandfather, who is the patriarch, the most recent common ancestor for this whole line. So he had 5 children. His name was Oscar. He had 5 children. The oldest is William. That's my direct descendant. Most of this stuff, it looks like, is coming from the sister of William's, or the family of William's sister, Carrie. So that's how we all kind of come together, right? Is actually through Oscar. And this is his pension file from the United States Civil War. Now, I already have a copy of this. And it probably has the widow's pension included as well, which, yeah, it looks like it did, because he actually was not alive for very long after he filed for his pension. His wife got most of the benefits. But I am going to look through this anyway. It's a second copy, and I'm sure I'm going to find that it's exact to what I actually already have. But there's a note on the research ticket, which I'm finding really interesting, actually. So my cousin said he enclosed for your research a pension application and certificate for both Oscar and his wife Frances. And I know why he did that. I can totally understand that. Oscar, excuse me, was involved in 3 or 4 different units during the war, but the last one, and the one that he was in for the longest period of time, was rather obscure. It was actually a federal unit versus a state unit, which was quite unusual during the period of the US Civil War. And so it's hard to find his records actually at the National Archives because of that distinction. I've talked to a couple of different archivists at different divisions at the National Archives, and almost all of them have said, I've never heard of that before. So you have to kind of give extra information when you request files and copies. And so I'm glad that Stuart did that. I hope that that is included here so that I can see what my cousin submitted to get this. So that is it's a duplicate technically, but it's also a good reference points just to make sure that I have everything. So Christine says, it's nice you're getting your photos and docs in plastic. Would that have come from Gaylord? That's at least a start in preservation. Yeah, Gaylord's definitely a good company in the US. I don't know if they have an international reach. I assume they do. And to answer your question, no, all of this was packaged by my aunt at her house. And so she would have done the best to preserve these. And there's no indication that any of the plastic sheets are, as they've been passed down to me, are from an archival service. So to be safe, because I don't know where these plastic pieces came from, I'm actually just going to start over. I know it's wasteful and I don't like to do that, but I want to make sure that these documents are preserved. And so I am going to make sure that I have archival quality to keep everything in. Okay, so now we're getting into the meat. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning. I told you there were postcards. I'm not surprised to see this quantity. Here's another bag that looks like it might be all. There's 3. I don't know if you guys can tell how thick that is. Those are all postcards. It's probably close to 5 inches tall of a stack. Let's pull any of these. Let's pull some of these apart and see what happens. William says, has your aunt kept any of the best stuff back to surprise you with later? You know what, William? That is totally possible, actually. So when my grandmother passed away, my aunt, my father, and their brother, my uncle, went in and cleaned out the house. And my aunt got most of grandma's papers and things. And I have a decent amount of it. I don't know exactly how much there was, though, to be honest. And then in the years since, I kind of occasionally get boxes like this, right? But a few years ago, I did get like 4 boxes all at one time, and it was just this onslaught of material. I'm still working my way through it. I still go through there and find things that I was like, oh, I didn't actually know I had this. So yeah, absolutely possible that she's got more stuff at her house, but she just moved out of like about a year ago. She moved out of the big house, and her and her husband downsized into a smaller place. And so I'm reaping the benefits of the fact that they have to downsize, which is fine by me. Okay, so let's see. We've got all these postcards. There are, oh my gosh, there's so much in here. So a lot of them have writing on the back, but some of them don't actually. Some of them are blank. Oh no, that's interesting. So this one is, let's see, what is this? An Easter greetings card, very cute, with little hens, ducks, something, chickens. But and it's not written on the back, but hopefully you guys can see this. There we go. It's got whiteout on it. Can you see that little white spot that's a little brighter than the rest of the card? So someone actually took the time to put whiteout on the back of the card, but the rest of it's blank. So that's interesting. There's all sorts of stuff in here. Oh, what's this one? Okay, hang on. Oh, this is going to take a second. Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, oh, that's really cool. Okay, what is this? This is a Happy New Year card, and it looks like this. It's quite fragile, actually. It's a little torn. It's because these are all cut out down here, and it looks like it's missing a corner. And you unfold it, and it's got the little greeting inside, so that's quite nice. But on the back, it says to Frankie from Blanche. So that look at my hands are shaking. So that is my second great grandmother, Oscar's wife, and that is her sister. So this probably dates from, I would say, right at the turn of the century, just based on the color and everything. I mean, there's no envelope, unfortunately, but probably right around 1900, 1905, something like that. That's pretty cool to see that generation in this pile. Okay, let's see. Oh, Daphne says, did I quarantine my box before opening it? You know what, Daphne? I didn't even think about it. I should have. You're right, but no, I did not. That's a really good. That's a really good point. I did not do that. Let's see what else. So a lot of these are blank. They're from all over the place. So here's one from Seattle, which makes sense because my family was in that area of the States for a number of years, several generations. Oregon, but again, most of these right offhand are blank. Now there's a few that I saw that had some writing. Okay, so this is a Christmas card, Merry Christmas greetings, like this, and it says on the back, it's to Carrie, so my great aunt, and it just simply says, don't you owe me a letter? And it's only signed F with a period. I don't know who that would be. And it's to her, let's see, 1907 maybe, in Nebraska. That's quite fun. Okay, let's see. Are you going to be scanning all of these? How do you store your digital files? Yeah, I will scan the ones that have writing on them for sure, both sides. And actually, what I probably won't, let me be really clear about that. I won't scan them. I will photograph them. And the reason for that is because, number one, my dad was a photographer and his influence is strong. And I feel like I get better quality images when I use my DSLR camera over like a flatbed scanner, for example. And then the question is, how do I store my digital files and how am I going to store all of these? So I mentioned that Carrie was a prolific letter writer. So I photographed all of her letters. And we're fortunate, we have, there was a year of her marriage early in her marriage, where her and her husband were actually living apart because of his work. And so they wrote letters back and forth almost every day. But because they eventually, of course, lived together, we have both, right? We have her letters and his letters, which is fantastic. So I photographed all of those and I store them on a separate hard drive so that the files, I mean, I have multiple copies, but the primary copy is on a separate hard drive, an outboard hard drive, so that if something happens to my computer, it doesn't get damaged. I also have a version in the cloud. And then in terms of keeping them organized, they're in chronological order in their physical location, and they're in a preservation-friendly box and stored flat, not vertically. And I have an index that I use for all of my materials. So I have indexed each of those letters. And it's a very simple index. It's not fancy. It's the name of the person who wrote it, the date, the location, if the location was noted in the letter from where they wrote it from. And then it just says letter to Adam or letter to Carrie, right? It's not really for anything more than just for me being able to find, oh, I need that January 1926 letter. I want to go back and look and see how she described her sister's wedding or whatever it was. I made that up, but it's just enough for me to be able to find it in my system. So it works really well for me. So in terms of preservation, absolutely scan or digitize your materials. It's time consuming, absolutely, especially if you have a lot of stuff like I do. I've somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 3,000 or 4,000 pieces already in the collection, and this is just going to add even more to it. So yeah, it's a lot of work. And it's quite a lot of dedication, but it's worth it in the end. All right, so I'm flipping through. Oh, there's also a really good Facebook group, and I don't know the exact name, but I'm sure someone can share the link. It's like Genealogy, Organizing Genealogy, Genealogy Organization, something like that. And they share a lot of great suggestions about organizing your materials as well. So a lot of these are, this is just, oh, what is this one? Let's see. I don't know what that says. Somebody Brown in Ording. Oh, this is to Frankie too. Oh, this is also from Frankie's sister Blanche. Okay, wow. Oh, that's a great picture. Okay, I have to show you guys. Like, look at that picture. He's got like the alligator or whatever down at the bottom of that big group. Oh, that's incredible. Let's see. The stamp is a little smudged, so I'm not sure what the date is. 19 something, but I don't know. Hopefully from the content, I can figure out what all these postcards are for. So, okay. So we've got through the stuff that we knew about the postcards. See what else is in the box. There are binders. I'm gonna move this just up to the side. I need a little more room. So each of these binders has a name on the spine. That's very much something my cousin had done. I've gotten binders like this before. So this one is Ruth. So this is his grandma. And there, oh gosh, there's all sorts of stuff in here. So there are photographs, there's obituary cards, which I have a copy of, but I certainly don't have that many. There's some photos, looks like originals. Oh my gosh, record of baptism. Okay, let's open that one up. That looks cool. And this is for, see, she would have been my great aunt. Oh, it's empty. Oh, that's sad. Maybe, oh, I take it back. This is just the envelope. The actual record is in the next slot over in the little plastic sheet. Certifies that Ruth Louise Carlisle has been welcomed into the fellowship of the Tolt Congregational Church. So that's the same church that the certificates were from. So that's fantastic. So yeah, my cousin that I got all these, I think he's technically a second cousin, but anyway, he was fond of these types. Hopefully you guys can see that. So these types of plastic sheets that have like different sections in them. So it keeps everything in place. Like when I was a kid and I collected baseball cards and you had those plastic sheets you put your little cards in. So they're kind of like that. So there's several pages of that. I should put this up so you guys can see. So there's some photographs that I have that one. There's letters, more letters, newspaper clippings. Oh gosh, there's all sorts of stuff in here. And this goes all the way through. Oh, look at this. A play, maybe. It looks like some kind of theatrical production. What are we? High school grades. I'm a pretty good student. High marks in just about every category, so that's nice. More letters. A wedding invitation. Oh gosh, this is fun. Look at all this. All the way up through pictures of the headstone. And that would be him and his brother with their mom. Even a picture of the front gate of the cemetery. So he was definitely a researcher himself. Everything's nice and organized in there. Let's see, that's kind of fun. Okay, let's see what the comments are. I'm going to catch up. So Christine says, I've wondered about scanning all the paper too. Would you do that and upload to a family tree? Absolutely. So, you know, everybody's of two minds with the public family tree, right? The online family tree. I like having everything in one place. So I maintain my tree on Findmypast, and I do upload quite a bit of documents and materials. But again, I have so much that I don't upload everything. I upload what's relevant to the research. So if there's a particular piece that shows a date of birth, for example, or a marriage, like the wedding invitation that was in the binder, I might upload that to the tree. But I'm not going to upload everything because it would take years. It would take a long time, just because of the amounts of stuff I have. But because people are sharing trees, I want to have that kind of material easy access, right? I want to be able to say, oh, hey, I think we're related. And here's the evidence I have to actually show that I believe that this is true. What do you have? And I want it at my fingertips, right? And so I do upload a lot of material to my tree. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Victoria says, my father banned address books and postcards and cards. Oh no. My Italian grandmother had kept from special people when she died. Oh gosh, I would have been really upset too. Oh, that's horrible. It's so sad to hear about that. Okay, let's see. I'm going through. William, I've inherited all the family postcards that were my grandma's, including one sent as birthday cards from her dad, all in a box that needs to be sorted. So, William, maybe we should have a postcard scanning virtual party and we could scan our postcards together. Let's do it. Let's do it. Janet says, I have postcards my grandfather collected when he was a soldier in Africa and India. Oh, that's really cool. 1906 to 1913, he destroyed the diary. He kept it at the same time. Oh, that's too bad. But maybe Janet, maybe you need to be in our scanning party. All my family, William also says, all my family tree stuff is backed up on Dropbox and on external hard drive too. Yeah. So I didn't actually finish that sentence. I was going to say, because I have so much stuff, I have everything on an external hard drive, but I also distribute hard drives to my siblings once in a while. No, I don't know how much they appreciate that, but I do anyway, because the four of us live in very different locations. I have a sibling in New York. I have a sibling outside of DC. I have a sibling here in Colorado, but a different town. So every once in a while, I just refresh a new set of images and documents, and I send that out to my siblings just in case, right? Because you never know what's going to happen here at my house. Anything can happen any day, right? 2020 has proven that to us. So keep a backup copy offsite somewhere, whether that's in the cloud or a physical copy. Absolutely keep a backup. Christine wants to know, do you transcribe letters? My daughter cannot read cursive because they don't teach that in school anymore. And I'm sorry to hear that. My daughter did learn cursive in school. So thankfully, she can read cursive. And I'm waiting for the day that she starts transcribing letters for me. She can hear me right now. She's saying no, but I'm not going to look at her. She's going to do it eventually. Yeah, I do transcribe letters. Now, again, I have so many that I haven't done them all yet. I normally transcribe them as it applies to the research project that I'm working on. But yes, I absolutely do transcribe. And my intent is to transcribe all of them at some point. But, you know, I have a little kid and I have a full-time job and all those things. Janet says, my late mother was told by her not to throw anything out without checking with me first. Yeah, absolutely. So actually not too long ago, a year and a half ago or so, my parents sat us down and we had a conversation around, you know, their wills and their estate and how things wanted to be handled. And that was one of the first things I said was, any documentation goes through me first. Like, period. And all my siblings were like, duh, Jen. And I was like, no, I'm saying this. It's going to be really clear. There's no doubt whatsoever. Do not throw anything away. Okay, let's see. Okay, Denise asked a really good question, actually. And the question is this: when a person puts his information on Findmypast, can someone else add information to it without permission? No. So you're probably thinking about the family search tree, which is a wiki style tree, which anybody can contribute to. But the Findmypast tree it's your tree, and it is up to you how you share it and what your settings are and what the privacy is. But no one can edit or change your tree. All the control goes through you. Has my daughter caught the genealogy bug? Afraid not. You know, when she was 6, 7, she really enjoyed going to courthouses and cemeteries with me, and we still go to cemeteries occasionally. But no, she actually commonly jokes that being in quarantine and lockdown is hard enough. Being in lockdown with a historian and a genealogist is horrible. It makes me laugh, and she's kind of joking, but kind of not. Right? She's 11, it's okay. When she's an adult, she'll appreciate all of this. She just doesn't know it yet. Okay, back to the box. There's more. This is, there's several binders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 binders. This one says mom, letters and postcards to parents. So that would be his mom to his grandparents. So Ruth to Frankie and Oscar. Or no, excuse me, to Carrie and Adam. I'm a generation off. So that might be interesting because this is a generation closer to our mutual ancestor, Oscar. So this is a lot of letters. It looks like a lot. So because of the proximity to the generation I'm more interested in, I'm definitely going to transcribe these. And we get into a period where they start using it. So this one's 1944, actually. So it's typed. That's nice and easy. And then there's a collection of postcards in the back. Lots of sloppy ink writing. That'll be fun to work through. All right, I'm going to skip over the other binders because I think, see, there's one for one of the brothers. I'm guessing that's okay. That's mom, and then the other brother. Okay, so 5 binders worth of stuff to go through. And I'm running out of space on my table, which is also a great thing. All right, so there's some little things in here that I have never seen. So there's this little box. It says Emma Kitzman Tober Hiller. So that is my great grandmother. Hairpins, pen, and manicure set. I didn't know this existed. Oh. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. My aunt is very precise. So there are hairpins. There's, I don't know, maybe half a dozen or so of this style hairpin. Let's see, what's the easiest way to see this? They're plastic. I don't know that I've ever seen these before. And I never knew Emma. She died before I was born. So I would have never seen her use those. The manicure set's quite cute. Let's see, can you guys see that? Looks like a little vial purse size, very friendly. Oh, yep, and it's just got little, the little pieces inside. Oops, there we go. A little hard to see, but that's quite elegant and refined. I like that. That's a little piece of my great grandmother that I, wouldn't thought of, right? At what point do you stop and say, well, gosh, how did she do her nails? I don't know that I've ever had that before. So that's pretty cool. I mean, this is something she probably would have used regularly and just had with her all the time, right? So that's pretty neat. The pin is what got me, though. I've never seen this. I didn't know that it existed, and hopefully you guys can see it okay. Let's see, I'm try and find something to make it stand out a little bit more on camera. Hopefully you guys can see this. It actually is her name. It says Emma, and it's just a little pen. I can't do the camera thing. It's very awkward. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty special. It's quite stiff. It doesn't open very far, but it's bent. The part on the back, right, that actually pins it to you is bent. It kind of implies to me that she used it pretty regularly. Oh gosh, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty special. I didn't know that existed. And then we have, I'm gonna take a second. We have this little tin, and there's a note. And so this is what it looks like. A little character on the front, and it's Madame Butterfly Pure Silk Ribbon, IBM Electromatic. Oh, it's ink. But it's empty. Okay, so let's see. The note says, my mother, Elsie, so that would be my grandmother, Elsie was thrilled to update an electric typewriter while working at Rainier School in Buckley, where she worked for a number of years. The supplies, supplies came in these little canisters, which she kept small treasures in. Oh gosh, wow. Don't recall anything like this from my grandmother's house. So that's pretty cool. My grandmother was, this is the grandmother that started me in genealogy, actually. So that's, that hits. Okay. I don't know what this is. Ruth Carlisle Miller's Pinafore, 1920s. Wow, I've never, I don't think I have any other clothing items. And I'm not even exactly sure what a pinafore was used for. I could look, I'm gonna look it, I'll have to look it up. There we go. It's got buttons on the corner and little pockets and the scalloped edges. And it's in great condition. A couple little stains here and there, but it's kind of purely white. That's so great. How do I preserve this, guys? What do I do with this? I'm not sure. I guess an archival box. I know they make them for fabrics. I think there's specific ones for fabrics, so I'll have to look at that as well. But if you have suggestions, throw them out in the chat so I can start right away. I can see I'm going to be buying a lot more archival materials. Yeah. All right. Let me just check the comments again. Let's see. Victoria says, one thing I managed to find was a recording on a cassette of my grandparents talking. They were looking after me as my brother was being born. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. When I played it to my father, he was speechless, sent shivers down our spines, very emotional. He had not heard his father's voice since he died a few years later. After the recording in the 70s, what is the best way to preserve a cassette recording? So I would start by digitizing it, absolutely get it into electronic format, so that you can play it, but also so that it's pulled from what is now a very old media format into a more modern format. That's one of the things about preserving your family heirlooms. You have to keep up with the technology, right? So if you have images on CD-ROM, we're past that. You've got to transfer them onto a hard drive or into the cloud or something like that. And you can get computers. William also made a comment. You can get computers which can record from anything you watch them on. Even a VCR player or old video camera linked to a DVD recorder should work. And yes, that's very true. There's also, if you don't want to invest, I know that there in the States, I know there are libraries and archives that have multiple years worth of technology. So for example, the Denver Public Library in Colorado, they have numerous pieces of old technology, recorders, album players, 8-track players, old computers, so that, you know, things with floppy drives, so you can take in your old stuff, floppy drive, floppy disk, and actually get it converted at the library. And that's a service that they offer. It's a really, really fantastic service. You can also buy some of these types of things on Amazon. So I have a very similar story, Victoria. We have an album, an LP of my grandmother, this grandmother, doing a radio spot. Her husband, I think it was in the 30s, maybe 30s or 40s. Her husband was a dairy farmer, and she was instrumental in creating this organization of dairy wives that helped promote the use of dairy products. And she ended up going to a convention in Washington, D.C., and she gave a speech at a women's luncheon, like a wives' luncheon. And she ended up doing a radio spot. So we have a recording of the LP of that radio spot. And I did not know about this until, gosh, just this past winter. So my parents have an album player. And so we played it, and I just lost it, right? It was the first time I've heard my grandma's voice since she passed. And that was hard. And it was the first time that my daughter had heard her great grandmother's voice. So that was pretty special. So then like the next day when I had like recovered a little, I literally just played the album and I held my phone up to it and just recorded it. So I have, I turned the volume up as high as it would go, and I put my phone as close as I could to the speaker and just captured it. We're looking at how to preserve the album itself. It's a little warped. But in the meantime, I have a digital copy on my phone, and I have, I've sent it to my father and that kind of thing. So, okay, Linda has answered my question. Thank you, Linda. A pinafore is a fancy little apron worn over dresses to keep them clean. They could be very fancy with lace and ribbons and more washable than the dress itself. Thank you, Linda. I knew it was something along those lines, but I didn't know exactly. All right. And William has recommended a particular type of wood box to keep moths away from things. And that's why people had them in the Far East. Okay, we've got a big chest. That was my great uncle, so that's cool. So yeah, the digital format, I think, is really important. The key message, I think, is absolutely keep up with the technology, right? Don't record something now and think that in 20 years you don't have to address it again. And make sure that you're caught up, right? It's important to stay current. Okay. Let's keep going because the box is not empty. There's so much here. And we've got, 15 minutes or so left. Oh, I missed a bag of postcards. There's another bag. Oh, these ones are cool. Okay, hang on. That's really neat. So this is like leather, thin leather, feels like. The picture's upside down. Whoop. And it says Los Angeles, California in handwriting on the front. It's a pig in a butcher shop, says I'm dressed to kill. Bad joke. And it's simply addressed to Carrie. So my great aunt back in Nebraska. Can't really read the date on the stamp, unfortunately, but it was sent from Los Angeles. So I have an idea, because she had a brother who was in California for a while. So I'm guessing this is probably from him, but I don't think I've ever seen a postcard like this before in this like very thin leather, but there's a few of them. Like this one, oh gosh, yeah, there's a couple. This one has some color to it, so that's kind of neat. Also to the family in Nebraska, but no name, no writing. It doesn't look like. Oh gosh, oh, this has to be really early. Oh yeah, it is 1906. So this one actually, the back is really well preserved. So the stamp is really readable, but the front says, "I'm waiting for you in Ording, Washington." So that's a nice little early piece of history from Washington State. That's the town where my ancestors lived for a very long time, where my dad was born, actually. And this one is cut. I think you guys probably can't tell, but it almost looks like it's hand cut. Certainly not precise by any means. Anyway, there's a bunch more postcards. Fun stuff. Oh, this is like a tour through history right here, right? Like the flowers, the color, the technique of actually creating the card. All right. Grace says there's something special about the voice of a family member who has passed. So, definitely, Grace, definitely. All right. So there's a little bag here of knick-knack things, it looks like. A Washington State sales tax token from the 1930s. That's fun. Christine says she has one of those leather postcards. I wonder if there's a time period they were popular. Mine's from Denver. I'm guessing that it had to be a trend, Christine. Definitely. We've got some wood tokens, a ruler, a couple of dice. None of these are really labeled with anything. I'll ask my dad, see if my aunt. Oh gosh. Okay. So Elsie Brown's 20 years Washington State service pen. Yeah, that's my grandma. And she worked for the state of Washington for a number of years, obviously. As did my mom, actually. So this is now the second 20-year Washington State pen I have, because I got my mom's when she passed earlier this year. Okay, let's see. Still digging in the box. Plastic bag of things. Eric asks, what would you do if we have pictures that no one knows who are in the pictures, old black and white pictures from way back around 1910, before and after? So here's the thing. I have a lot of that, actually. The town I just mentioned, Ording, Washington, my ancestors were big in that town for a number of years. And I have even a collection of high school, like senior portraits from probably around that same era, 1910 or so. They don't have any names on them. They were given to one of my ancestors, like you exchange or you sign each other's annual or whatever. Like they were given a senior portrait as a gift. Don't forget me. It was great to be in school with you, blah, blah, blah. Seniors rock. But I don't know who these people are. So what I did actually is I scanned them all and I contacted the Historical Society in that place. Thankfully, of course, I know where they came from. So that's a benefit to me. And I just said, I have these. Do you want them? And they kind of went, well, we're not really sure that we want them because they don't have any names attached. But we have a Facebook group. So I joined the Facebook group and I posted the pictures, and I'm slowly, actually, people are finding them on the Facebook group and saying, oh yeah, I know who that is. That's my great aunt, or that's my grandmother, or whatever. So I'm slowly returning them to people via that Facebook group. Now, thankfully, that group is really active and there's a lot of people who are really engaged in the history of that community. So it's relatively easy for me. But I do have this whole other pile of materials. I just don't know who they are or where they're from. I can make educated guesses. So I could probably do that again. I could probably put those scans on the Facebook group as well and see if anything happens. But I am talking to the local historical society to see if they want part of the collection, because there are hundreds of pieces that I have in the family archive that the Historical Society doesn't have. And it feels to me like putting them in the Historical Society, in some cases, even better than keeping them in the private, like family archive, right? Because I can only manage so much. And some of it is public, right? Like there's a photograph in particular of one of the first fire departments of the town. And I know that the Historical Society has the image, and they made postcards of the image, and that's what I have, is a postcard version. And I was actually talking to one of the the people who's really involved in the Historical Society, is a colleague of mine in the genealogy world. And he said, oh, nobody knows who's in that photograph. No one has a copy that has names on it. And I went, oh, wait a second. And I rifled through my stuff, and I have a copy with names on it. I was the only one that they'd ever seen that had a copy of that photo with all the names labeled. So even if you have something that's not labeled, you may find that someone else out there does, right? So connect online. I think, we're all so lucky that we have Facebook and email and all of these different forums and websites to actually engage with researchers from long distance away. So it is possible to find some of this. There's also websites that are dedicated to this kind of thing. I know in the US, there's one that's called deadfred.com. It's been around forever. People upload images and they say, oh, I think it's from this town in this time in this period, maybe from this state or this county. And it's just out there for people to identify and find. So maybe you'd have some luck with a site like that. Okay, so in this Ziploc, there are, oh, what is this? Let's see, souvenir cards, a little booklet, souvenir cards. They're postcards again, more postcards. And it looks like it's complete. It's never been touched. None of them have ever been used. And they're from the Alaska Yukon Pacific Exposition Grounds in Seattle. And I want to say that occurred in the 1920s, but my memory is a little shaky on that one. Nice color postcards, beautiful set. So I don't know, maybe somebody collects postcards that might want them. There's not very much significance historically or genealogically to me, but that's okay. Still materials that were in the family stuff. Oh no, this one's fun. There's a greeting card of some, let's see, what is this? Christmas card. Watch this. Woo! It's all 3D. That's pretty neat. All right, but it's blank. It's not written on. So that bag we're going to set aside. There's a couple photographs in here. Let's see what we can find here. Oh, this one's got writing on it. That's cool. Oh, wow. Oh, that's neat. Okay, I don't think I have a copy of this. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. All right. So this is my grandma right here in the white. There we go. That's my grandma. That is her brother, and that is her mom. Just pretty cool. Look how dressed up they are. They're all fancy. I love it. And it says at the bottom, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from your daughter, Emma, and grandchildren, Elsie and Elsie and Leo. So this would have been intended to be sent or was sent to my, let's see, great grandmother, who lived in Canada. So that's really interesting that it's kind of back in my side of the family. I wonder if it was just not sent. Like maybe they just never got it there. That's a really cool picture. Okay, that's a good find. That's a good one. And then, oh, yep, my grandma's high school portrait, signed in the corner, which is nice. She was actually 16 when this picture was taken. She wasn't actually a senior yet, but they reused the picture for her senior year. That's neat. Let's see. Little Ziploc, another little note. We've got 6 minutes left to get through this. And I should probably pay attention to Alex's comments here. Let's see what it says. Reticule. Am I pronouncing that right? Reticule. Drawstring evening bag from Elsie Tober Brown. So that was my grandma. May have been Emma Tober Hillers, her mom, 1920s. So that's cool. I definitely don't have anything like this at all. Look at that. Oh, I can just, I admit I have a hard time picturing my grandmother with something like this, but I'm loving the mental image that's coming through my head right now. Look at the beadwork on that. It's great. That's fantastic. We did a live session a couple of weeks ago on fashion history. That if you haven't watched is fascinating. You should go back and look at it. I'm gonna have to watch it again myself with this in mind, because that's pretty cool. Oh, is there anything in it? No, it's empty. Dang. So that's pretty awesome. I wonder if she kept her manicure set in here. Formal occasions only, I'm sure. And then there is something else in this bag. Oh. Okay, I'm doing this live on Facebook. I can't believe I signed up for this. Okay. So it's a handkerchief. It's embroidered with an E, so it could have been my grandma's or my great grandma's. I don't have anything like this at all. So that's pretty awesome. So a lot of preservation techniques I'm going to have to learn about, because there's a lot of materials in here that I don't have anything like. I have a lot of paper, and I have a lot of photographs, a lot of old documents, but I don't really have any fabric in the collection just yet. So this is going to be a bit of an adventure. Let's see, there's a couple notebooks. My grandma's spiral notebook, early 1930s, but it says it's blank. That's too bad, but still kind of a fun little piece. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. All right, last pile of stuff. I have 4 minutes to get through this. We'll do our best. Okay, so there's 3 manila envelopes. There is a peachy folder. Do you have peachies in the UK? I don't know. Does that look familiar? Big thing. I remember growing up with these for sure. Let's start with the file folder. And there's no notes, odds and ends, it just says on the tab. Okay. I like odds and ends. There is some more letters. Hey, surprise, surprise. I told you, prolific letter writers. These are to Carrie, who is the real family letter writer, from Ad. I think this is her sister-in-law. I think these are from her sister-in-law. It must be. The date sounds about right. There's envelopes as well, so that's pretty neat. And they're talking about, I'm not going to read the whole thing right now. I'm unfamiliar with the handwriting. I couldn't read it that quick, but I did note they're talking about the Soldiers' Home, and that's the institute that my grandmother worked at, my great-grandmother worked at, my mother worked at, the Soldiers' Home in Ording, Washington. So those are definitely going to have to be transcribed and put in archival boxes, because that's pretty neat to have that reference from a kind of an extended branch of the family. All right, there's a news article from January 8th, 1978 from the Seattle Times. Scraps of paper bring a flood of memories. In the picture references the Alaska Yukon Exposition from 1909. Hey, that connects, I think, back to some of those postcards, perhaps. So that's neat. It's the full article, even talks about a DAR luncheon, which is kind of cool. So I'll have to dig into that and read it, see if anybody in the family is actually mentioned in the article, or why we kept that particular clipping. I don't know. But that'll be fun to work on. All right. Let's see. Postcard. Another postcard. Aw, from my cousin to his grandma when he was a little kid. Look at the writing. Yay. That's cool. Photograph. Unknown. There's one of those unknowns. How do I identify those people? I don't know. I'll have to compare to the rest of the pictures in the family collection from this side of the family and see if they look like anybody that I know about. That will probably be my first place to start. Handwritten family tree. Now this could be something really substantial, right? I have a copy of this. Yeah, I do. I have a copy of this. This is definitely not the original. It's also like a carbon copy almost. It's that kind of funny waxy paper. The one thing I noticed, I was actually looking at a version of this not too long ago. And it has just right at the very top. This is the generation I've been working on most recently, actually. This guy right here, John Lawrence from England. And it's this note in here that caught my attention. So it would be his daughter-in-law's father. Yep, his daughter-in-law's father, but it specifically says Methodist minister. And his last name was Evans. We think he's from Wales. Great. That's about all I know about him. But that did catch my attention not too long ago. Got some copies of the census. Oh, and the famous oral history, the family history. This is actually what I've been working on specifically the last few months, is trying to decipher this and figure out what's true and what's not. I've done a couple of these sessions actually on that very topic. There's a couple of versions of this. So we've all, many of you have seen this before. Yep. All photocopies of what I already have. Okay, but that's good. It's not a bad thing. Another newspaper article, August 1983. It's the captions from Buckley. To be honest, I recognize the newspaper visually. It's the Evening Clock, Courier, Herald, even though it doesn't say that. I know that to be true. So newspaper article on mount, like taped. Yeah, taped to regular paper. Okay, and that is, oh, no, almost missed it. Oh, photograph. Oh yeah, I have a copy of this too. So this is actually the Carlisles in that back row, but that guy right there, oops, in the blue shirt, that's my grandpa. So these would have been his in-laws, relations. I'm sorry, no, his cousins. Yeah, that's the fun picture to have. That's a good one. Nice color picture. That's good. Okay, let me check the comments really quick before I get into the last things. And hopefully you guys can stay for an extra minute. I am totally overdone. I'm overdue. Victoria, when it comes to donating records of local historical interest regarding a multi-generational milling business, which would be best to approach, local museum or the county archive? Victoria, I think that depends on where you live and the quantity of records and the extent of the records. If they're business records, I might contact the local museum first. Well, no, you know what? Actually, I'm not sure that it matters, to be honest. I would contact both and see who wants it. There also might be an industry-specific museum or archive somewhere that would also be interested in the collection. So, like, for example, in Oregon State, there is an archive specifically on the history of beer, right? So it's beer businesses and beer history, and they collect things from kind of all over the world in their archives that relate to the industry of alcohol. So you might look at it from an industry standpoint versus a geographical standpoint. So that might be something to consider. Sherry says, my grandmother told me many years ago that people collected postcards of people and places they visited because they did not use cameras much in the early 1900s. Yeah, Sherry, I think you're probably onto something there. I think that's probably where a lot of this came from, because so many of these postcards are not written on, and they're clearly were never intended to be sent, or at least doesn't, maybe she just ran, I don't know, doesn't look like they were ever going to be sent. Okay. So I have 4 things left. I have these 3 manila envelopes and this peachy folder, which caught my attention. There's a little note from my aunt saying, my mom, so my grandmother, had a clipping and letter file for each of you. I've included your siblings' materials in case you'd enjoy reviewing them. Oh boy. I've passed her old peachy portfolio on to you. My cousin has one also. Oh, so now I get it. Now I see what my aunt has done. See at the top here, this is my grandma's genealogy folder. I love it. This is the grandma that started me in genealogy, but she never showed me very many documents. It was all oral history. And so a lot of the things that were in her files were big surprises to me after she passed. Oh, all right. So this is my grandma's folder on me. Let me see if I can find one of the least embarrassing pictures. So she kept all my childhood pictures, of course, right? So there's little Jen at Christmas. My high school senior picture, which is horrible. Don't look at that. And then the other side has letters. My grandma loved to write letters on her typewriter. She never switched to anything more modern than that. And when I was in college, my last year of uni, I did an internship in Montana, and I picked up golf, and my grandparents played a lot of golf. So we wrote letters about golf. So now I have both. I have grandma's and I have mine. Okay, so, and I have one of these envelopes for each of my siblings. They are labeled, but I'm not going to open these on camera because I don't know what's in here. That's not fair to my siblings who are still alive. So that's what's in the box. The box is now officially empty. Whoop, we did it. We did it in an hour. Unbelievably, there's a lot here. My table is now a giant mess. This has been quite an adventure. Thank you for joining me for it. Let's just scroll through. Alex has been keeping me up on the comments. Wendy says, I have several very old pieces of clothing from about 1890 to 1915. Thanks for suggestions for taking care of them. Yeah, so Wendy, I'd be interested in seeing those suggestions too, but watch that video on fashion history, because I do think she does talk about preservation in that video, if I remember right as well. Kate, I have copies of letters written by my great-grandmother in 1933 in Ireland to an editor in England. She wrote in response to an editorial about the Irish people. Oh my gosh, that would be fascinating. Her letters were a history lesson to him, I bet. They went back and forth a couple of times and she really gave it to him, but in a respectful manner. She was so intelligent, 85 at the time. And a letter from 1964, from my great aunt, her daughter, to a sister living in the United States. In it, she recalls to her a story about my great-grandmother and how in 1941, she braved a crossing from England to Ireland and then back again to see her one last time. She talked about all the submarines in the Irish Sea and how they had to wear a life vest all the time. It was very dangerous to travel then. She also talked about the bombs day and night, the Blitz, that they were experiencing in London. What an incredible story. Kate, that's what a treasure for your family to have those. That's amazing. All right, so some thank yous coming in. Oh, Diane, take as long as you want. That's very nice, Diane. I think Alex probably needs to finish his day. Linda says, very envious, but happy for you. Yeah, I see, that's what happens, right? As you get the box and then you look at it and you go, you know, I'm just going to make an educated guess. Knowing what I know about my family and the materials that we've opened up today, probably not really going to answer many of my genealogical questions, right? But the impact of having, I'm just going to guess, maybe around 300 postcards to go through. Like, this is a journey through my family story that that wouldn't have otherwise been told, right? And the idea of preserving our family history, whether my daughter is interested in it, but I don't know, but maybe her children will be, or maybe my nieces and nephews will at some point grab the bug, and all of this will be kept and stored and passed down yet again, right, at some point in my future. It's a powerful testimony, right? It's a really, really incredible thing to think about the impact we can have and the legacy that we're all leaving behind. You know, one of the values at Findmypast is to honor history. And I think we've definitely done that today. And each of us continue to do that every single day in everything that we do. So keep on it, keep going. Linda says, enjoyed this from Colorado. Coffee and this made my morning. Yeah. Linda, I am right there with you. My coffee has grown cold, but I still technically have it sitting here. This has just been really, really great. And thank you very much for sharing it with me. I really appreciate this. You know, usually we go through these boxes on our own, right? I mean, if I had not done it like this, I probably would have gone through the box by myself. I would have gotten emotional, of course. And then at some point I would have called my dad and we would have talked about these things. But there's not really very many other people in my family who are going to be interested too much. Some of this they might find interesting, but not much. So yeah, this has been kind of cool, actually. Yeah, it's personal. It's definitely personal, but it's family history is personal. So it's kind of neat that I got to share it with my extended family out there online and part of the Findmypast community. So thank you all very much for being here and making it kind of extraordinarily special for me too. And with that, I'm going to take my postcards in my box. I'm going to pack everything back up because I still have work to do today. And I'm gonna sit back and think about all of these materials and what I'm going to do with all this and learn about fabrics and how to preserve them. I hope that this little experience and this little journey has, if nothing else, inspired you to take another look at your personal collection and make sure that you're storing things properly. Make sure that you're leaving things for the next generation. Make sure that you have that written out and what you want, where you want all that stuff to go and what you want to be done with it after your time on earth is done, right? And that might be a little bit morbid sounding, but we have to leave a plan so our descendants and our family members know what to do with the stuff, right? Because we all have the stuff, whether it's our research or 300 postcards, we have stuff. We collect things, right? As genealogists. So make sure that there's a plan in place. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you very much again for being with us. We will catch you tomorrow for Find My Past Fridays. Don't remember who it is. I want to say it's Miko, but I'm not sure. And enjoy, right? Get to know your materials. Make sure you're organized. Make sure you have it ready to pass on and keep researching. You never know what you're going to find. So thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.